Hello learners, welcome to the MOOCs course Early Childhood Care and Education. Today our discussion topic will be Play Activities for Preschoolers Part 2. And after going through this video content, you will be able to identify the fantasy among preschoolers, explain how storytelling helps in development in children, and organize dramatic play in your school or early childhood care and education center. Already we have discussed about the importance of play and the play activities for the children in our previous video discussions. Today, the last part of this discussion will be the play activities for the preschoolers and what are the different play activities. We have already discussed about different play activities that preschool teachers can organize in their respective schools or center for all-round development of the children. Play is essential, as we know this thing, and it is essential component of child's learning. During play, child engage themselves in various activities. One such important activity is fantasy. Children like to imagine. They have their own fantasy world. The character they see in the cartoon visuals are important for them, as they create their own world with them, relate their life activities with them. So this is the fact about that particular period of our life, and everybody has experienced all these stories in our life. So children like to listen stories from the elders. In the preschool, teachers used to tell stories to make them aware about different concepts and provide knowledge. At that period, we are, as children, if we look back our days, how we were very much interested to hear some stories from our elder members. So along with storytelling, therefore teachers make use of dramatic play as one of the important method of teaching at early childhood phase. So on the basis of this innate nature, on the basis of the these characteristics, common characteristics about in the childhood period, the teacher should organize the method of teaching for the early childhood phases. As such, it is important for all preschool teachers to be familiar with these concepts. And this discussion will focus on that aspects of preschoolers. Now let's discuss about fantasy among children. Fantasy is one of the most significant characteristics among young children. And children develop various emotions and they go through it. Sometimes they are very, very happy and sometimes they are sad. This is a common fact about that particular period. Separations from mothers, siblings, playmates make them sad. As such, they feel like very complicated. Fantasy is the means which helps the child to deal with emotions and to adjust to various situations. Children love to hear stories. It helps in development of their imaginations, their fantasy. They create their own world of fantasy. While playing, they take part of different roles such as father, mother, grandfather, doctor, nurse, teachers, magician, reporter, journalist, YouTuber, fruit seller, farmer, truck driver, bus conductor, etc. etc. By the learns, children pretend to be characters they see around them in real life. They fantasize about how it will be when they grown up. They see their parents and other family members who are adults and imitate. Imitation, this is one of the most important psychological characteristics in the childhood period. So they imitate them in their pretend plays and games. So regarding fantasy of children, there are varied views, and there are some people who believe that children use fantasies to get away from the real world, to escape from their real problems. For such, they create a world of fantasy where they think they are the most powerful one. They can do as they please and make others do with what you want. But this view is true only in some cases. In general, children use fantasy to know the real world. And use of fantasy among children. Children wish to be a part of the world of adults they see around them and to work like them. They want to talk, behave, walk, drive, dress, and eat like the adults. These are the fantasies that they have, and this is reflected in their play. And these are common things about them. Mostly it can be said that fantasies are children's daydreams through which they express what you want to do, what you want to be. Children's fantasy play reflects the real experiences of everyday life. Children use also fantasy to organize and understand the world around them. They project it into their play what they have seen actually. And out of fantasy, they imitate their adults and reflect in their play. Through these and similar games, they explore the world of adults and add that part of reality to their experiences. And now, we should know what are the advantages of children's fantasy. Fantasy, though imaginary, but helps the children in many ways. Children's fantasy grows out of reality, and accordingly it helps them to understand the reality in a better way. For example, by playing the role of a farmer in a scorching heat, they realize the struggle of a farmer. This is how fantasy helps children to accept reality. And secondly, we can say about fantasy, the advantages of fantasy, that it also helps the children to understand abstract facts, a point which adults often fail to realize, because fantasy is children's way of connecting new ideas to the ones they already have. Then third one, that fantasy also helps children to deal with their emotions. Being into their own world of fantasy, children often get involved in the activities which gives them happiness and pleasure. It also offers opportunities for children to explore different emotions and practice emotional control as well as self-regulations. Then another point is that along with this, fantasy makes the child's life richer and gives them courage to face situations. It also encourages imagination and creativity among children. Fantasy helps in building children's confidence as they experience the freedom to be whomever or whatever they want to be. It provides an opportunity for children to play games and involving social rules, cooperation, collaborations leading to social development. And another important benefits of it, that it is encourages children to emphasize with others. It helps the children to deal with changes in their lives. It allows the children an element of control in their lives. It improves children's language, communication skills, and extends children's vocabulary, which is very much important for their development. And also it develops children's cognitive skills and provide opportunities for literacy and numeracy. Also, it enhances children's understanding about the real world and how things work. It also allows children to practice fine and gross motor skills. So these are some of the benefits that the children can get from the fantasy. So childhood is the time when fantasies need to be nurtured. Unrealistic but happy fantasies during childhood give the child a sense of security and confidence. It must be noted that the fantasy itself is unreal. The good feelings that it gives children about oneself and the future are real. The fairy tale provides happy fantasies in a manner which the child finds easy to understand. When the future seems hopeful, the anxiety is gone and the present becomes more bearable. So, this is all about the fantasy. Then next, let's discuss about storytelling by children. Storytelling is one important part of childhood. It is one of the oldest and purest form of teaching. In early childhood education, storytelling is not only an effective way of grasping the attention of children, but also has many developmental benefits of storytelling. Storytelling, we can see that is one of the most important way of engaging children. It not only develops their passions of hearing, but also develops some other cognitive skills such as imagination, finding relationship between two or more objects or people, reasoning, justifying, logical thinking, etc. This is the best way of presenting material for imagination than telling a story. A story transports the child into a new world. Listening to stories is an integral part of growing up, and the children who have missed it have missed the world of fantasy. For storytelling, reading books is not the only form. There are few other forms of storytelling that can be incorporated in the early learning centers or in the early childhood school. They are nursery rhymes, songs, picture books, cultural stories, fables, and storytelling with puppets or other characters, personal or a child's experiences. Besides this, as preschool teacher, you must know that the stories can be different types which can be incorporated in child's learning. And these are, I am saying or I am mentioning here, first, stories based on real life. These stories would include stories based on some phenomena of nature, science stories, stories about children growing up in different regions or stories about growing up itself, stories about brave men as well as women. So this are some of the stories we can incorporate it in their curriculum that which should be based on real life. Then number 2, stories based on imagination and fantasy. This would include fairy tales, folk tales, stories containing impossible events, stories from the Panchatantra, stories based on Superman or Batman, Shaktiman, etc. etc. So from such type of stories, they get interested and they go into the world of imagination and fantasy in a structured way. Then thirdly, stories from a specific culture. This would include myths, legends, epics, and other folklore. Some example of these are the epic about Ram and Sita from Ramayana, Yudhishthir, Arjun, Draupadi from Mahabharata, stories about gods, goddesses and demons from different other classic stories or epic. So it will give some idea about some specific culture to the children. And we should know, as a teacher or parents, we should know when we are nurturing a child about the characteristics of good stories, because all stories do not attract the children. All stories may not have the good effect. So stories to be appealing to children, it must have some qualities or characteristics, because if some stories give some negative concept, then it will be harmful for the children. So what are the characteristics of a good story? First one, for a story to interest children, it must arouse curiosity among the mind of the children. Then secondly, it must be joyful and interesting. Next one, it must entertain them. It must stimulate the imagination of the children. The next one, it must appeal to their sense of adventure. Then next, it must cater and be in tune with their hopes, desires and fears. Also, it must clarify their concept and ideas. It must deal with the emotions of the children. It should give recognition of their problems and suggest solution or also help them. It should develop their intellect and self-confidence. It must enrich children's life and relate to aspects of their personality. And the last one about the good stories characteristics, that it must help them to develop their inner resources. So these are some of the characteristics. Then we should also discuss about benefits of storytelling in early childhood education. What are the benefits? Why we should incorporate in with their curriculum? Storytelling serves many benefits to the children. Some of them are it helps in improving language skills. How? Reading is not only the option which promotes children's language development skills. In such situations, storytelling is a fun way for the children to get accustomed of hearing different words, syllables and sounds that they may not have normally heard in regular daily conversations. Next, it boosts memory. How it boosts memory? Storytelling boosts the memory of the children. While listening to a story, children will have to remember the plot, scenario, characters as well as important details. Throughout the storytelling, the teachers build on the benefit of memory learning by asking questions about the story. This encourages children to pay attention along the way and to actively try to remember the storyline. Next, it fosters imagination, creative thinking and cognitive skills. Storytelling to children without the addition of illustrations or any other visual aid allows them to imagine characters and settings. This is important for their creative and imaginative thinking. Instead of a video or image doing the work for them, children instead are forced to think of it themselves. Here, critical thinking about situations described in storytelling is introduced and is important for developing his skill later on. It encourages learning, writing, and reading among children. Storytelling is a fun and interactive activity for children. As they learn through the process and content of storytelling, children begin to learn to love learning and associate it with a fun activity. This encourages a healthy perspective on learning and school later on in life. It also teaches the children the key skills for their formal schooling, such as being able to sit and listen, think critically, and comprehending. The next benefits is that it develops cultural and moral understanding. Every story carries moral as well as it is based on a cultural base depicting through the different character and content. As such, children can learn valuable cultural and moral lessons. Some stories explains the cultures of different places as well as the people of different places. Children also learn to explore their own culture and begin to develop an understanding that people come from different backgrounds, religions and countries. Storytelling sessions need not to be confined to an adult telling a story. Teacher must encourage children to tell stories. So this was about storytelling. And let's discuss in the next about dramatization. Dramatization is most significant model as well as basic play activity for learning for children. It helps the children to think about their individual or social problems. Children can learn to explore issues, events and connections by means of drama or role play. Through dramatization, children can gather variety of knowledge and experiences of the real world. At around age 3, children's dramatization consists of playing with toy in ways that imitate life experiences. Later, children play make-believe with their friends, cops and robbers based on stories shown in movies or the televisions. It is the most significant model and basic activity for learning. It helps children to think about their individual or social problems. Children can learn to explore issues, events and connections by means of drama or role play. Dramatization is the center of existence because it is a valuable form of communication. It provides children with an opportunity to work together cooperatively on a shared life. As a result, it gives children the chance to express themselves more effectively in everyday situations. Through dramatization, children learn to get along with others and to find out how they stand in relation to others. It is the only and the natural way through which they learn about themselves and the world. Dramatization is useful in developing play so that children can extend themselves creatively and constructively. With this, children are able to express and communicate their feelings and understanding in their own way. It gives children practice in reasoning and acknowledging. Moreover, it also provides emotional content in their socialization. In dramatization, what happens? Children are assigned roles by someone else and enact them. Dramatic play is an important play activity for children. Dramatic play, fantasy play, pretend games and symbolic play all are same thing and they have been used interchangeably. When children engage in dramatic play, they are their own actors and directors. They choose the setting, select their costumes and props, and develop their own dialogues. Preschool teachers can encourage dramatic play by providing a variety of play materials that lend themselves to imaginative play by keeping the play area appealing and giving children enough time for the play. And what are the importance of dramatization for children? This is important before implementation of dramatization as a play activity in the children's curriculum, because dramatization serves some benefits. What are the benefits? First of all, development of imagination. Dramatization or role play helps the understanding human behavior in terms of how people feel, how people behave in certain situation, how people react. This enriches their imagination. Indeed, dramatization is an imaginary play. Then active learning. Dramatization ensures active learning on the part of the students. Through role play, they gather knowledge about many things, event and relationship. It is an interesting activity that includes a lot of fun, learning new ideas linked to it everyday experiences. Then third one, social development. Dramatization also leads to the development of social behavior among the children. Through role play, they acquire many social qualities like empathy, sympathy, sensitivity, involvement, collaboration, and so on. And fourthly, development of creative problem-solving quality. Dramatization is a social activity. Since children work together on problem-solving through dramatization, they are working towards expressing their thoughts and solutions. Another important thing about importance of dramatization is that language development. Children get a lot of oral practice through dramatization, which helps in the language development. It leads to the improvement of pronunciation and fluency in the language they use. Another important point is that emotional development. The children have to enact the characteristics so that they get better insights into the ancient characters, events, episodes, etc. The children are actively involved as they can feel the emotions of the characters in which they play. It also makes it easy for children to express their emotions to their parents and teachers. Then another benefits of dramatization is skill development. All senses are actively involved in the dramatization so that learning becomes better. The dramatization includes the development of skills like listening, speaking, reading, and even writing. After going through this discussion, what we have already understood, I am summarizing all these points that number 1, play is an essential component of child's learning. During play, child engages themselves in various activities. One such important activity is fantasy. Fantasy is the means which helps the child to deal with emotions and to adjust to various situations. Regarding fantasy of children, there are various views. There are some people who believe that children use fantasies to get away from the real world, to escape from their real problems. In general, children use fantasy to know the real world. Children use fantasy to understand the world around them. There are lots of advantages of fantasy, and such as it helps them to understand the reality in better way, encourages imaginations and creativity, allows the children an element of control in their lives, and so on. So another thing we have discussed the storytelling. So storytelling is one of the important part of childhood. It's one of the oldest and purest forms of teaching. There are few other forms of storytelling that can be incorporated in the early childhood centers. They are nursery rhymes, songs, picture books, cultural stories, fables, storytelling with puppets or other characters, personal or child's experiences. And storytelling serves many benefits to the children, such as helps in improving language skills, boosts memory, encourages learning, writing and reading among children, etc., etc. Then next and the last part of discussion was our dramatization. Dramatization is the most significant model and basic activity for learning for children. It helps children to think about their individual or social problems. Through dramatization, children can gather variety of knowledge and experiences of the real world. Dramatic play is an important play activity for children. Dramatic play, fantasy play, pretend games, and symbolic play all are same thing, and they have been used interchangeably. So Learners, this was our discussion part about playway activities for the preschoolers, and from all of the discussions I hope you are better understanding about the importance of play and implementation of play in the early childhood education center or early childhood education or school. Different play activities and their benefit has been discussed in our the video content. So from all of these, as a teacher of early childhood education, you should try to implement all these things, theoretical part to the practical part, and hoping for the best. We are sum up our discussion here, and thank you so much.